said to him, that's because I want to make sure you read that and you understand what's in the contract so that there are no surprises at the end or you say, geez, I didn't know about that. Okay, the next thing is risk management insurance. Stager puts the furniture and things in a home and it's stolen. Who's responsible for that? That happens. That absolutely happens where furniture has been, the people in the neighborhood know the house is vacant, might not be a good neighborhood, and they decide to come in and take. Who's responsible for that? If you read the stager's contract, it probably says you. Now, the thing is though that there is what's called risk management insurance. Some stagers know about it. I staged a house it was interesting to me because the house had been vacant. The people who had been a rental, the people who were there had been evicted. So they're not very happy, right? And when I'm staging a house, my assistant says to me, Janie, there's drug deals going on next door. And I said, how do you know? And she said, because every 5 minutes there's a new person coming up to the house. They go inside, they're there for like a minute, and then they leave again. I thought, this is a house that needs to have risk management insurance. I got it that day because I just didn't want to take the chance of the furniture and things being stolen. Sure enough, somebody did break into the house. They didn't take anything, but they did break in. It was obvious that they had broken and walked through. The next thing is, does the staging all look the same? Or does the stager try to match the staging to a particular home? The way that you stage a house in Montecito is not going to be the way you stage a house in downtown San Jose in one of the new high-rise condominiums, because you're staging for two different types of occupants. Downtown San Jose and the new condos and things are usually the young professional people who don't have children, and they want a more modern look. Montecito is a lot more traditional, more bedrooms. It's a family type of home, upscale. So you need to make sure that you talk to the stager about, this is the market that I'm aiming for. Don't tell the stager what to put in there. You can say, I think in this particular bedroom, I want to have a seating area. Or in this particular, family room, I want to make sure that we have room for a television or something like that. So you can just give the stager some ideas of what you want. But, it's hard for a stager when you're saying, well, I want to have a sofa. Juliana's going to laugh at this. That doesn't come up over 2 inches over the window, right? And it wasn't the agent, it was the homeowner who was saying that. That's a little hard, give the stager some leeway. We know what we're doing. Okay, and we've already talked about asking for references and asking for testimonials. Okay, finally, has the stager taken a professional staging course and is certified by a trainer? Or has the stager worked under the guidance of a professional stager? Or is it just someone who said, geez, I really like to decorate. I think I'll go out and start staging. A little bit of difference between staging and decorating. Okay, there are great interior designers who are also great stagers. There are great interior designers who they can't get out of the design mode. When you're designing something for a particular family, particular situation. When you're staging, you're doing it for as many people as possible that are going to come in. Okay? Last thing is, does the stager belong to a professional staging association? I think Kimberly mentioned RESA, which is the Real Estate Staging Association. There are two actual professional staging associations. Another one is the International Association of Home Staging Professionals. And both of those are an international body that's headed by a board of directors. They provide ongoing training. They have a code of ethics. It's like you all belonging to the International Association of Realtors. Same type of thing. It shows you that stager is, in fact, considers themselves a professional and is involved. Some tips from other stagers said, and I had asked this question, I sent it out to my staging forum, And I said, what would you like to tell realtors? And they said that a stager should be chosen. And what they said was that the stager should be easy to work with and could be relied on to deliver what they promise. You know, if they have said to you, I'm going to stage this as a child's bedroom, and you get there and it's now staged as an office. They should have told you beforehand, I think an office would be better, and there's a reason. They should have communicated that with you. Make sure that they're a good fit for your business, okay, because they uphold your values. They are a reflection of you. They understand, we've already talked about the difference between staging and design. They understand that their job is to help you market the property by fitting it to a specific target marketplace. They provide good quality staging. And they had good experience and good reputation in the staging industry. Okay, I'm just going to show you real quickly before and then after, because we just don't have time to do this. This is a Santa Clara townhouse that I staged. And of course there's some moving boxes there, but that space that the moving boxes are there, that are in, the homeowner really didn't know what to do with it. So they stuck a plant in the corner, you know. Now I've got all this big space here and I don't know what to do with it. Here's my sofa, and as you can see, it's not, you know, a typical one of those, I call them, let me lay on the couch type sofa, or let me go to sleep on the sofa. This place was great. They were asking $1.5 million for this. It was not decorated as $1.5 million. So I staged the home. It was going to be vacant. It was the real estate agent's sister's home. So of course she wanted to make it look good. And she had a personal, you know, feeling in it. This is what it looked like afterward. And so what I did was to take that big blank space that was which is now the dining area, and make it a dining area. And the homeowner had just had, literally, she had some artificial plants standing there. It created a separate living room area so that it looked like this is a functional place. It actually sold for, I think, $100,000 over the asking price. I'd like to take credit for that, but.
The room looks different from the other room? The other room?
Well, yeah, the other, and realize that the first room was taken with my cell phone photos, okay? Because I take it for myself, so I can remember what the place looks like. The second one, the after, was taken with professional photos. But it's the same room. Okay, always remember, cheap staging is not always good. A lot of times when you're looking for a stager, you want the cheap staging. Well, I shouldn't say that. You want the least inexpensive. But you are probably going to get less quality, okay? And good staging is not always cheap. And the cost of staging is always less than your first price reduction. Okay? Thank you. I'm going to give this to Kimberly. Thanks.
Wow, that was awesome. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to introduce our next speaker. Her name is Kim Tucker. She's founder and president of All Reasons Moving and Storage. In 1991, after experiencing a terrible move herself, she recognized the need for a reliable, honest moving company. So she opened All Reasons. Kim prides herself in hand-picking her team members that line up with her company's philosophy to ensure optimum service for her clients. She's been married to Tom for 25 years. In her spare time, she likes to spend time with her grandchildren, Vanessa 24, Joshua 15, Alex 14, and Lucas 11. And she's also competing in the KCBS Santa Clara Central Park barbecue competition. So this woman's pretty amazing, and I'm excited. Please give her a hand.
Thank you very much. Okay, see how this works now.
Good morning, everyone. I am Kim Tucker.
Nice to see you. I also brought with me James Martinez. He's he's in charge of our long distance and international department. And so if anybody at the end of this has any questions about long distance, I figured I'd bring reinforcements. So what I wanted to go over today was, realtors know about real estate, and you work with a lot of people, but you don't necessarily understand the moving industry, and I wouldn't expect you to, but your clients are asking you about that. So I wanted to go over some of the, just some basic things on how to choose a moving company, the licensing, because we are licensed, brokers and who they are and how they play a role in this, or not, how movers charge, and then some basic services and stuff. And this picture, by the way, was my attempt at like an artsy photo. I thought it was cute. So, also there's some handouts there, but these little things, it's not breath mint, don't shoot it in your mouth, and it's not, it's not a sanitizer, it's sunscreen.
Oh.
So, yeah, fits nicely in your purse or your back pocket. Yeah, so don't squirt it in your mouth.
Thank you for letting us know.
Okay, I don't know which button I'm pushing. Oh, look at that. So I wanted to start off with a story. Over the years, we work with a ton of realtors, and we get a lot of phone calls, and we do go out and give estimates, and we gave a quote to a potential client for moving to Florida. And they didn't go with us, they went with somebody that was less expensive, which is fine. We found out later that the quote that they had gotten was 50% less than ours, which is a huge difference. And about a month or a couple months after the move had taken place, the agent was calling me back about another client, and we were chatting. And that move, she said, went horribly because the moving company that they had hired showed up with a truck that was too small. It basically was going to hold about half of the stuff that was in the house. And because they had to bring out another truck, and there was all these other things, in the end, they ended up paying more than they would have if they would have just hired the higher cost mover. And then, of course, when they get to the other end, there was damage. So she was upset, but not at me, obviously, but she was just upset at the whole situation. And really what went wrong was that client hired solely on price. That's all they did, was look at the bottom line. They didn't look at the licensing. They didn't look at the, who's the company or any of the stuff they should have. They just looked at the price. Red flag, I mean, we all know you get what you pay for, and 50% less, that would be a huge red flag in my mind, and moving companies are just not all the same. So what I wanted to go over was, how do you choose a moving company? And as you know, I mean, most clients and customers get referrals from you guys, from realtors, from friends, from professional organizations and internet groups, and that's all great, but they still should check out the company. Like, look them up on the internet. Make sure that they have a website, like, with stagers. I mean, if you're a professional company, you're gonna have a website. Don't hire one that has stock photos and that kind of stuff. If you're a legitimate moving company, you're putting pictures of your trucks, your equipment, and your guys to show the people that you're a legitimate company with your own equipment. And of course, check eBoards, Yelp, Google, all of that stuff is a really great resource for moving companies. Do they have a physical address? And you may not think this is super important, but if your clients are doing staging, if we're going in and we're pulling things out to store while the house is on the market, or maybe for some other reason they're going into storage, you need to know where those items are going. We've had situations where clients will call and say, oh, I got a bid from XYZ company. And I know that company doesn't have storage, and they're quoting for storage. So I'm like, know where they're taking your stuff. Are they taking it to some, warehouse? Are they planning on taking it to public storage? Where are they taking it if they don't have their own storage? So a physical address can help you with that. Do they have their own men and equipment? Believe it or not, there's moving companies out there that pick up guys at Home Depot. They pick them up, they have, they use day labor, they do that kind of stuff. We don't do that, but we background check our guys and, all of that kind of stuff. So, but there's a lot of companies out there that do that. How long they've been in business. Everybody wants to, help a brand new company out there or whatever, but the problem with our industry is at a lot of times, if there's a moving company out there and they've got a really bad reputation, say on Google and Yelp, and they've gotten some really horrible reviews, they'll shut down and then they reopen under a different name and then they come back. So a brand new company may be the same people that were running a really shoddy business before, or in a lot of cases, the state has shut them down. If you get so many complaints and things happen, they'll actually shut your phone number off and revoke your license. But then they just reopen under their brother's name or somebody else's name and come back. So, how long they've been in business is a big deal also. And are they willing to come out and do a site visit for your client? We will do an on-site estimate. There's companies out there that if you ask them, they'll say they don't do that. Red flag for me, but the only time we don't is if you've got a client that's moving next week, I may not have time to go out and do an estimate. That would be a different situation. But if they're planning ahead and you're calling me in plenty of time, we can go out and take a look at it. The licensing that I was talking about, so moving companies are licensed by the state. And the Bureau of Household Goods and Services actually has a website that you can go on if your client or you are interviewing movers. They have to have a license, and you can actually enter the license number in on the site. And it'll tell you if it's active, if it's even valid, because, some people have a really pretty website and they just make up some numbers and put it in there, and it's, and if you Google it, it's like it doesn't even exist. I've done it. I look them up. And are they members of the trade associations? The CMSA and the AMSA are basically our governing boards over moving companies. CMSA is the California entity of that, and AMSA is across the United States. And then we have a Cal Pro Mover certification, which is basically a step above that, and it's a California Consumer Protection program that they set up, and there's only about 10% of us that are qualified to be in that. But if you see that emblem on a moving company, that's like the gold standard. And then of course, Better Business Bureau. And no matter what, they don't let your clients hire a mover based on price. I mean, that's just don't. Real quick, I wanted to tell you about licensing because it's confusing for people. Local moves require what they call a CalT number. That's something that's issued by the state. A household mover that is moving within California, that is transporting across the California highways, not crossing state lines, has to have a CalT number. They have to have it on their truck. They need to have it on their paperwork, on everything that they have. That number should be on there, just like your realtor license number. Now, interstate, which is crossing state lines, that's a DOT number or MC number. That takes a second number. And then there's international, which is out of the country, and that's a whole other thing that requires customs and all that. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that, but just know that we do. That All Reasons does do international. So if you've got clients that are going out of the country, we do that also. I put this in there because I talk to a lot of realtors. Why should you care? Why should you care who your customer is using? A lot of realtors Don't refer any moving company because they're too afraid, because there's so many of them. It's not the best industry out there. I know that. So they don't refer anyone. Or if they do refer, they're referring somebody that is what I refer as Bubba with a truck, and they maybe aren't licensed, and there's some handyman kind of doing it on the side or whatever. And these people are representing you. When we go out there, we want to be an extension of you. We're part of your team, and we want you to look good, and we want the customer to come back and say thank you for hiring them. They're great. And we want you to look good. So to me, that's why. And, you know, a licensed and insured mover, nobody cares about that until something happens. And then when something happens, all of a sudden you want to know where their license is and who's going to pay for this hole in the wall, you know? So I think as realtors, I mean, you wouldn't hire a non-licensed contractor. It's kind of like that whole thing. If you Google moving companies, you will get the first, I haven't done it in a while, so I don't know, first 5 or 10 websites are brokers. What a broker is a broker is basically, they've set up a website. They're not based in California, they're out of state, and they simply sell the jobs to whoever is willing to pay for it. So you don't have any, you don't really know who's coming out to your house. It's not legal in California, but how they do it is because the internet crosses state lines, right? You can be anywhere, and people don't realize, and they think it's an actual company when it's really just an agency that's selling leads to people. The quotes that they give are based on a list that your clients provide. So that's kind of a loophole for them, because if you say I've got 10 boxes and you have 11, it's more. If you list in there that you've got a couch and you've got a chair, you don't really know the exact dimensions, and they're using some formula to figure out what space you're using in the truck. But that's also a loophole for them, because maybe they're assuming that it's a 5-foot couch and you've got an 8-foot couch. Now you're using more room, more money. So guaranteed, I wouldn't say 100% because I don't have the statistics, but I would say probably 98% of the time if you go through a broker, whatever the cost is that they've given you, it's going to be more. And there's no guarantees on any of their paperwork. And the worst part is you just don't know who's showing up at your door. Or if they're showing up, they don't give any guarantees for dates or for delivery dates, especially if they're going out of state. They just, you know, it's this big long window. And I've looked at a couple of the contracts and the quotes that they send out. There's lots of small print and there's lots of disclosures in there. And the biggest thing that to me that I read on one of them recently was the liability section. It said that they were absolutely not responsible for the home inside or out at all, which I can't figure. I mean, in California, if you're a moving company, you have to have general liability insurance, but their contract specifically said that. And so I was, I mean, we pointed it, somebody had sent it to me, a client who had gotten a quote from them, and of course we circled that and sent it back to them, but, you know, again, red flag. So my advice to everybody is never hire a broker. I don't care if you use me or use somebody else, use a reputable company, but do not hire a broker. Understanding basic pricing. Local moving is time and materials, which means how many men do we need, and do we need materials or not. If the customer has everything packed and ready to go, then we're just going in, disassembling furniture, blanket wrapping, and going. But if we're doing packing, then we would need materials. For companies that are charging for materials, things like tape, when you've already had everything packed up, they shouldn't be. We use like what is called, the rubber bands. There's these big rubber bands that go around to hold the pads on. If we have to use tape for something, that's because it's a different situation. It's because they're coming into storage and some other things. But for a local move, if you pack everything up, it's just going to be labor and fuel. International and interstate is calculated by weight. So you have to kind of figure out the size of the shipment, and it does require more figuring out on our side. James's job, not mine. He knows what things weigh. I have no clue. But you know, it's a little bit more detailed, and you want to have a company that comes close to those numbers, that has a good reputation, because some companies will come in and say, oh yeah, you know, it's 5,000 pounds, and we look at it and go, what are you talking about? It's like 12,000 pounds, you know, and they want to give you a low bid so that you'll go with them, and then they'll up it later. And we really, really try to be as accurate as we can. We do perform different types of services. You can, we understand that everybody's budget's a little bit different. You can have a customer that is a partial do-it-yourselfer, which is what I call them. Maybe they want to pack and move all their boxes themselves, and then we come in and we just move furniture only. That's totally fine. Quick Trip to me is the customer's packing, and then we're moving boxes and furniture. Semi-hands-free, the moving company does the packing, and then we move everything, but we don't unpack. Customer unpacks. And hands-free is just that. You can go to Hawaii, and we will come in, pack it up, move it, and unpack it, and have everything in place when you get back. So there's different levels, but knowing that, especially with the people that want to move themselves as far as the boxes and things like that, it's a lot more economical for the client, and especially for maybe a younger couple that, you know, the guy wants to get in there and do it himself, but she doesn't want him moving her China hutch. We can do that. And levels of service. I threw this in there because the floor protection, if you can see, this is a huge, this was like a 6,000 square foot house. We don't do this on a 1-bedroom apartment. We don't lay down the floor protection like this, but we all have higher end clients that require this type of service, and we do have this, and we can provide it to our customers. We also do crating for very expensive chandeliers and other things like that. All Reasons is an agent for Stevens Van Lines, and that's also another weird area for people that I wanted to go over. It doesn't mean that we are subbing the job out to somebody else. It doesn't mean that we're hiring another company. We're under one umbrella, we're one company, and everybody, all the van lines have it. The only way that you can have an outreach across the United States is to have local agents servicing your clients. So it's all one insurance, we're all one company. So, and that's kind of, you know, it gets confusing for people, because sometimes when we say we're an agent for Stevens Van Lines, they're like, oh, so you sub it out to somebody. No, we're the same company. So you guys can kind of understand how that is. This is basically the same stuff that I just said. We do offer storage. The storage that I was talking about, like for the stagers, it works really well because we go in. Actually, a lot of times, the stager goes in and identifies what they want out, and then we go in and pick up all the boxes that have been packed or pack things, and then get rid of the couch and the whatever's, cluttering up the house, and we bring it into storage. Once the house is sold, then we can come back and pick up the rest of the stuff and take it all to final destination. But we have 26,000 square feet, climate controlled, alarm secured. We have a very nice facility. So the reason for using storage would be maybe staging. Sometimes your clients have sold a home and the other home isn't closing, or there's some overlap. We can do some short-term storage for that. Or remodeling. We go in and just clean out certain rooms or even entire houses because they are painting and carpeting and doing stuff like that. So we provide storage. This is just some quick pictures of what our storage looks like. On the racks is basically showing you how we wrap a couch and that kind of stuff. And then just some quick pics of our facility. Real quick, before I close here, I've mentioned that we do international, and basically with international, it's anything going out of the country. We do a very detailed inventory. Every single thing has to be boxed. We do craning, and we handle all the paperwork as far as the customs and paperwork and stuff like that for your clients. So I think that's loading the container. I think we're getting close to time, and we wanted to do some questions and that sort of stuff.
Anybody have questions?
Of course.
Of course.
And also before we questions, anybody, business card for the raffle, keep it in, pass it around.
Don't use it. Get business card.